Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. Many people ask me a lot of questions on things they don't understand about China. I do my best to answer them in the replies and through my tweets. Of course, there's legal issues and there's the freedom issues, and these do get answered. And if you want to know and haven't seen the answer you're looking for, scroll through the channel and hover over some of the earlier videos. If you can't find what you're looking for there, please feel free to ask me and I'll do my best to answer, either through a reply or through making a video. I'm definitely not an economist, but I can clearly see that China is not on the verge, or in fact anywhere near a collapse. The recent May Day holiday demonstrated that, with record numbers of people traveling around the country spending record amounts of money. We don't see people doing that in countries that are suffering economic woes. So if there's a collapse coming, China's doing a great job of keeping it from the people. We certainly can't see any evidence of it here on the ground inside China. What we do see, as I've said before, are massive investments in infrastructure, not just in ports and transportation, but in communication, health, and most importantly, education. China is getting smarter, it's getting richer, it's getting more comfortable, and it's easier to get around. One of the most common questions that I'm asked because of this is, how is it that China is getting so rich and still claims to be a communist country? Well, the answer to that's very simple. Who said communists need to be poor? That's a simple and true response, but of course the real answer is a lot more complicated. If there's to be equality, as communism likes, then surely everyone would be equal, but it's not possible for everyone to be wealthy. China has many wealthy people. According to Forbes, the number of billionaires is 607 now. China has the second highest and more than 20% of all the world's billionaires, with 20% of all the world's people. If that's not equality, then what is? However, the situation is changing. China's number of billionaires grew by over 60% in just 2 years. And in a couple more, it's likely that that number will be higher than the USA, meaning the rich in China are going to be richer than the rich in the USA. When that happens, we can expect that some in the USA will scoff at China and they'll tell the world they aren't communists at all, they're capitalists. And they'd be wrong on both counts. China isn't communist and it isn't capitalist. It's Chinese. But economists and accountants with Western training can't get it. Journalists and politicians parroting what the economists say have even less chance of getting it. If we look at a spreadsheet and say there needs to be a return on investment or a price-earnings ratio for a project to proceed, then we'll never really understand China. A Chinese economist looks at the figures, and of course they want profit and return, but they ask, what's the benefit to the people affected by it? China has a long history. USA has a short history. China has patience. US wants instant gratification in every respect. There are huge differences in the two cultures, and these two differences are seen in the way their economists look at and predict things. Quarterly reports cause share prices to go up or down. Bonuses are based on 12 months' profits. Margins are set at 20 or 30% or much higher in many companies, especially those that do business with Western governments. But that doesn't happen here in China. Let me give you an example of what happens here. 12 years ago, I was with a group of friends. They took me on a cold, wet, miserable day to a beautiful mountain village. It was 10 kilometers uphill on a muddy, slippery mountain track. And when we arrived at the village, we parked the van outside and walked in to take photographs. The organizer of the trip was a professional photographer. The environment there was stunning, but the place was steeped in poverty. We spent a few hours there, then slithered down the mountain to the nearest town to get some lunch. There was nowhere to get lunch in that village. This year, I had the great fortune to go back there. What I saw was a 4-lane highway with a car park, bus parking bays at the village entry. There was a huge shop where locally made products were sold. Inside the village was a stone-stepped path up to the top, and on either side of that were cafes, restaurants, even a bed and breakfast and a hotel. Locals dressed in their minority outfits, and we were welcomed with a glass of free rice wine. A great example there of how poverty alleviation works, but a much better example of how money is spent to better people's lives. The 4-lane tarmac road up the mountain would have cost millions. The training and even the infrastructure to get proper accommodation and sanitation into those homes would have cost millions more, but it was still done. Now the village has a future other than subsistence farming. The people can get in and out by vehicle rather than donkeys. The cost doesn't matter, because now everyone in that village can make an income, improve their lives, their children can go up and down the hill to school, and the future is better. I'm certain not every government in the world would spend that sort of money to help the 20 or 30 families that live in that one small village. In that respect, China is socialist for sure. But what happens now is what makes China capitalist. Rich people drive their luxury cars to the top of that mountain. They can eat the fresh, delicious food. They can stay overnight. And lots of money goes from their pockets into the pockets of poorer people. When I'm asked, is China capitalist? The answer is both yes and no. When I'm asked, is China really communist? The answer is both yes and no. The truth of the matter is, China is Chinese. The people like it. The government delivers what the people like. And to be honest, I really don't think they care if they are pigeonholed into an ideology. What socialism with Chinese characteristics actually means is that China does what's best for China, and if that includes allowing a bit of capitalism into their socialism, or even some socialism into their capitalism to help spread the wealth, then so be it. Please remember to like and share. It helps if you do, and more people will learn what's happening in China, and what's reported to be happening in China are not the same. Thanks once again for watching Jerry's Take on China. See you next time.